This is our third video in Substance Painter, and just really quickly I wanted to show you what this kind of looks like when you have it flayed out. It looks like, you know, cutting up, filleting a fish before you eat it. So anyways, it's a really cool way sometimes to add textures in a 2D map versus painting 3D. Sometimes that's very helpful. Especially with hard surfacing modeling and stuff like that. But for organic, I really enjoy just painting onto the surface. All right, so again, you want to spend a lot more time than I have been doing with this model, but pretty quickly we've got this kind of somewhat realistic looking fish. Again, I don't have the species in front of me, so I don't have a really amazing reference material for this. So one of the things I want to do is work on the material, turning this on and off, and your computers are probably having a hard time with this program. It's quite labor intensive. You definitely want to do this in a lab or your own PC tower at home. Doing this on a laptop will definitely cause some wear and tear on the motherboard. So if you look around, we've got some issues, like this fin has projected on it wrong. Again, you'll do these in subsections and you would project that a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and turn my symmetry on, so whatever we're doing, it's doing on both sides. So we're going to do some cloning, just like in Photoshop, and these tips here are white, or obviously not white, and we got some issues up here. And the telltale signs that we've projected is like this smearing on the top when you basically a radiation burn or something like that. So we want to kind of break that up, see if we can with our tools that we have. All right, so let's go ahead and get started in maybe some of the easier areas here. Underneath here, this is really bad. Like I said, like an X-ray machine is projected through some image onto the form. So we have, this is the section where we did the spray tan or the texture onto the surface. So I'm gonna go ahead and click here. This is my clone tool. Okay, and we do have symmetry on, so it's going to do it on both sides. So this is the very famous hotkey, which is V as in Victor. And so we're going to click on here, and that's my source, just like in Photoshop, and then I'm going to kind of click and drag onto the surface. Now you'll see that impression that we've made with the texture. So that's not going to go away. And again, you would have slowed way down and have done these in sections in Photoshop. Take that out and cropped around that so you're not projecting this fin onto that surface. Again, no one's going to look underneath the hood here, so don't overdo it. All right, and just like in Photoshop, when you're cloning, you want to kind of do it in layers so it's not so obvious that you're cloning. All right, so we're just going to knock down that opacity. And then source that red over here. I'm going to hit V as in Victor again, source this, and kind of make it look like it's blending together, even though it's probably not. All right, so we're going to come up here, come up high, hit V as in Victor, sample it here. Again, we're trying to get rid of that undercoat. Once you start kind of copying that surface and going underneath it, it'll follow whatever 3D terrain that you're on, so it won't start painting on top of this. All right, so I'm not going to do too much of this. Again, you guys should be spending a good like 4 to 6 hours per model. If you're modeling like this, it should go, I mean, your first one will take forever, but as you get faster and faster, you should be able to spend 4 or 5 hours on a model and make it look dead on realistic. All right, so I'm going to hit V as in Victor, click in here, and son of a gun, let's see. Let's see if I can get up close here. I'm trying to get rid of that color right here. So I'll hold down V, click. All right, no one's ever going to see there, but just kind of trying to get that awful orange, not awful, but the color off of there. All right, so we're going to do the same here. I'm going to go down on my brush size a little bit. I think you can hit S also to get to your brush size, or maybe that's in ZBrush. All right, so I'm going to click here, sample it. I'm going to go up on my opacity. I don't care at this point if I'm looking pretty or not. I'm just trying to get this done for you guys so we can move on to exporting this out, getting it ready for Unity. Definitely get it ready for rigging, right? All right, so here we go. It's looking pretty good. Again, those textures bleed through. You could go in there and paint those out, get onto that layer where we do textures and kind of blend that out so it's not so obvious. All right, so that's looking pretty good. This is probably the worst part right here, these guys. So again, V is in Victor, and just try to get some sort of tone on it, even though it's probably not correct 100%. All right, again, I'm just throwing this on there really quickly. Oops. And just like Photoshop, take your time with this. I mean, you've got all this beautiful time to do it. Okay, Alt to move around, just like in Maya. V is in Victor. V is in Victor. All right. Anyways, you get the idea. We're not going to go too long with it. We could be here for a while. Definitely some, just going to do some broad strokes in here. You'll look later and say, boy, he did an awful job. Just quickly going through here. Just going to just dabble some color. All right. Probably not really matching up 100% if we were a biologist or a marine biologist. The thing is quite shiny too. It is a fish. We don't know the specular activity of this underwater. I'll hold down my shift and kind of zoom through. You can just see everything's kind of coming together. All right, two more things before we stop. This is looking pretty good. I forgot to do the head right here. Actually, don't really want to clone it here, but we're going to go ahead and do that anyways. Let's not clone it. I would rather just add gray. Let's get rid of this clone tool. Let's go back to our paint. Let's go to a new layer. All right, so we're going to go black mask, and we're going to clone some color here. Let's see, let's get some color. And a cool thing about this is using this color picker. Go like that. Go to my paint tool. All right, so I got our paint tool, huge brush. Let's knock this down. I'm just gonna kind of gently go down on opacity and just kind of make it so it's not so apparent that this is a midpoint. Okay, with that opacity, I'm kind of feathering it out. All right, and you can hear I'm clicking like a mofo here. Again, I'm just trying to get rid of that so obvious kind of a seam line there. All right, so we're going to do two things to kind of break this up that I just put gray. That's really flat gray. We're going to do some dots and some cotton and some cracks. So we're going to go ahead and do a new layer. Again, right click, add a mask on top of that. And we're going to go and do some dots. And so we're going to go to our color. Use our color picker. I'm going to use some of this orange. Let's try to find something bright. All right. And we're going to go to our brush here. All right. And instead of materials, we're going to go to brushes. And I'm going to type in dots. See right here. Dots erased. Kyles. So there's all kinds of different dots. I want you guys to play around with them. And we've got sizing and so forth. I've got a huge brush. I don't know why it's bringing it so big. Size of the jitter. Flow. I want a lot more than that. Spacing. All right. Not exactly what I want, but anyways, you can kind of see that how you can break up the surface. Probably not a lot of activity there on the nose, and we could also do a triplanar. You can start to see, we can start to see our seams, so you definitely want to do a triplanar, but there are probably definitely some speckles in here. Again, we would have to have some fish right in front of us to see this, but I'm just trying to break up the surface, honestly, so it's not so, direct copy of whatever I got here. All right, so we go back here, and you want to change up the color, not always the same button over and over and over again. And I like to go up on my roughness here, so you can kind of see it's kind of showing up a little bit more. The basically it's just using it to create kind of a specular map here. So when we kind of go over it, roll over it, it should have a little bit different sheen on it. Again, you probably don't see it, but it will definitely add. Also, you can definitely do a little bump. So if it does have like some sort of, when I say ick disease or whatever, but you can see it actually can raise on the surface there, and this will play into Unity or Unreal, whatever you have here. All right, so we're going to stop there. I'm going to do another one just to show you some cracking. So we're going to do another full layer. Again, right click, add black mask, and we're going to do another color picker. Get a color picker. Let's get maybe this green. Color picker, let's try it again. Okay, click on the color picker and drag, I'm sorry. All right, so we're gonna let's go pea green with this and see what happens. All right, so I'll go over here and we're gonna just use our brush, and we're gonna type in crack. All right, so some amazing cracks in here. Again, I'm just gonna kind of play in this area and go to this, and we're gonna see, you can see it's quite green. Definitely gonna change this color. All right, so it's hard to see, god awful color, but I'm trying to think of ways to model this. So the cool thing about Substance Painter is go bold and later, change it. Oh, I'm still in dots. It looks like it's still in dots. It should be, let's change this to, drag this over. All right, there we go. So you have to double click it. Sorry about that. I've been doing dots the whole time. That's why it was kind of coming in funky. And now it's not coming in at all. Oh, there it goes. All right, so now this is definitely starting to look like a bass with this green. All right, so if you need to just add a little bit of color, and you can spin this brush around to. All right, so I don't really like that color, but again, it's just layering it, and with these opacities, you can knock this down, just like Photoshop. But you're just trying to get some layers and layers and layers. Think of like a Rembrandt painting that has like hundreds and hundreds of layers on it. So I'm gonna go to this green, I'm gonna darken it down. I'm just gonna pull this down. Okay, and then definitely on the roughness, just so it has a little bit of different specular, so when I roll over it, you can't see it now, but you definitely see how it will sheen differently. Also, we can go into roughness and go into negative territory with this, so it can add some dimensionality to it. All right, so I'm gonna go up to 100%. Really got lost when I went down to 50%. All right. Anyways, that's not a really good cracking one. Usually when it's a nice flat surface, you'll see this cracking and it'll be quite sharp. Let's maybe do it up here. You can kind of see, oh, those are my dots. Let's see. I really don't like the way this crack is doing. Also can rotate the position of this. There's all these different cool things that you can do. You can flip it, all these different things, subsets that you can do. So I'll bring this size way down. It's a huge, probably why we can't see anything. All right, you can see I'm just adding. All right, so I'm probably gonna stop there. That's it, but I really wanted to show you the cloning tool. Probably no green in this fish at all because it's a redfish. So just like that, it's wrong, and you can just go in here and say this should be red. All right, give it some more red tonality, or we want it this red. All right, just like that, you can go on the fly and change this stuff. Just like Photoshop, you're doing color grading in a movie or a film, you should be able to turn it on, turn it off, and see if that's adding a dimensionality, or it could just be just totally wrong. All right, so it's looking pretty good. Again, your shift and kind of going over that surface, you can see the scales and the gills and everything's kind of working together. The only bad thing is the eye really didn't get that into a kind of a separate shape, and typically I would have modeled that separately and we could have had that as a separate material up here. But I want to keep it very simple for you guys to understand. All right, so we're going to stop. We're going to export out the mesh and also export the textures for this really quickly. So we're going to go to File, we're going to export mesh, and we're going to hit Apply Triangles. This is what it does, even though we went through that process of keeping it all quad based. So we're going to hit Export, and we're going to tell it where to go, Desktop, Miami, and we're going to do Redfish, and Substance Painter, and then Final Build. And we're going to have a basically, let's call it final. So it's going to create FBX. We can also do OBJ too. I'm just going to go do ahead and both. All right, so it's pretty quick because it's just a very low polygon model, less than 12,000 polys. And now we're going to go to OBJ just so we have both. All right. Maya will accept both. We're going to jump into Maya on the next video and start rigging a very, very, very primitive rig. All right, so now we want to export out the texture. This is a little bit different. So this is going to be compiling a lot of textures for us. So we're going to go to the output templates. And so this is from Arnold and Maya to rendering to Unreal. You can see this. So you can go to all these different types of things. And so what I do is I'm always in Unreal 4 packed, and it will pack out basically 6 different textures into these 4, and you go into the material editor and then really break it apart. All right, so what we want is Unity. So we're going to use Unity, and I could probably do the totally wrong one. I kind of have to learn on my own. So I'm going to do Metallic Standard. That sounds right. So you can see what they're doing, RGB alpha, and you can see it's doing a normal emissive map, also diffuse map it looks like here. So let's do specular, metallic, and then also, so they're all kind of similar. So I may have to go back on my own. I don't know the pipeline for Unity, the shader, like I do Unreal. So for now, we're just going to do metallic standard. It sounds good. Sounds like Metallica, so I'm all for it. So so we're going to go to settings, and I always thought you just double click it and then you're off, but you actually have to tell it your output here. So you see V-Ray, that's a different type of game engine, not game engine, render engine in Maya. So we're going to do the Unity HD render pipeline. All right, just keep PNG 8 bits. Just going to keep everything default, and we're going to export. All right, and it is exported out the matte, emissive, base map, emissive, mask, and normal map. All right, I have no idea where that went. Let's go back to our settings and see where that went. Substance Painter. All right, so we do need to tell it where to go because it just went into my hard drive somewhere. So let's go to Miami, and we're going to go to Redfish and go to Substance Painter, and then we have our final build. And so you see it didn't go in there. So we have our OBJ and our FBX. I'm going to type in textures or final textures, and we're going to hit create. and hit open. All right, let's rinse and repeat that, export out. Okay, there it goes. So let's go to here and let's see if it actually ended up in the right position. So Miami, Redfish, substance, final build, final textures. And there we go. We have basically our normal map. I'm just going to open these up. So that is our textures. So this is going to be baked out for Unity. And then we have, this is your masking. Some of these I have no idea what it is. And then we just have our good old-fashioned diffuse map. So we're going to use all three of these maps. We'll show you how to get into Unity. Hopefully they're a little bit more complex, like some of these actually have 3 or 4 masks involved. All right, so we're going to stop there. We're going to jump right into Maya next and start rigging down and dirty, 30 minutes, and then really do quick animation and export out that FBX as a baked-in animation. All right, see you soon.